A lot of the things that many of us have known instinctively for quite a long while, now we understand that we can apply them deliberately. We have data, we have the science, which tells us how the human brain works, how it thinks, how humans are motivated, how they are engaged and inspired, and so on. And there's a great article that I came across in December 2020, which we're going to put a link into here. I probably already mentioned this because it is a really important aspect of understanding how humans work and how humans behave. But what this article talks about is it says that basically human beings, they come to work, they bring their time, and that is fairly fixed. They bring their talent, and although that can be that can be shaped and evolved, again, that tends to be reasonably fixed. But one thing that is not fixed is the energy, the enthusiasm that they bring to work. And according to this article, if you compared a satisfied colleague or employee to an engaged colleague or employee, that engaged employee will be 45% more productive than the satisfied one. And if we can get our colleagues and our staff to the point where they're inspired, they are up to 125% more productive than when they are just satisfied. So this tells me that there is a huge amount of benefit in taking the time to create the right environment within which our colleagues can excel, can flourish, can do the things that they want to do. There are also many articles out there which talk about the fact that most people are disengaged. It talks about not most, but maybe around 50% or so of workers in certain countries will be disengaged. So you take that satisfied box and you go to the left, and that diminishes massively. And they talk about the cost in terms of billions. You come across those articles, I'm sure. But how do we make sure then that we get our teams to be inspired, to be engaged and to be inspired? Well, one thing I would suggest is to understand a little bit how humans tick. Read the book Drive by Dan Pink, or maybe watch his YouTube videos. In there, he talks about the fact that what we crave is autonomy, mastery, and purpose. There's also a lot of information about servant leadership and about how we help and support organizations, how we help and support teams as leaders by serving them. A great book which we're going to talk a little bit more about in the part of this is David Rock's Your Brain at Work. Again, a great example of how we can move from satisfied to engaged to inspired. Of course, we've mentioned it a number of times and we'll continue mentioning it. Dave Marquet's book, Turn the Ship Around, that's what it's called, Turn the Ship Around. And he talks about intent-based leadership. Look at those examples. What I like about that book particularly is that that is a real case study. That is not theory, that is practice. And also looking at a case study, I don't know if you've seen this before, but it's the NUMI case study. Again, there'll be links in this, and I'm sure that I've talked about this in other parts of these pathways. But this is the case study of a factory, a car factory in the US, which was the worst performing car factory in the whole United States, and it got closed down. It got reopened under new management, and within 6 months, I think it was, the numbers that are in the actual article, but within 6 months, it became the best performing car factory in the whole of the United States. An amazing story of how if we look after our colleagues, if we treat them right, something that we'll cover in neuroscience that we mentioned briefly in the previous video to this. If we do these things, then we will have untold benefits. Again, try it. If you don't believe this, if you don't trust this, just try it. Get a small team, get a few individuals, and try and apply some of these principles. And you can actually run your own experiment right there, and you can see the differences that will happen. Trying to do something as a big bang approach all at once is really, really difficult. Far better to do things in bite-sized chunks. Remember, think big, start small, but act now. Let's get going with this. So we're now at the end of our list of items, of things that we are suggesting in terms of increasing speed of agility. Hopefully something there that you have picked out that you can use. And we'd love to hear which one you're using or whether you've got anything else that you'd recommend as well. I hope you enjoyed this little mini series within the pathway, and looking forward to continuing our journey as we go on.